Stop scrolling and listen carefully, because the coins you are about to hear about are not just metal. They are sleeping history and hidden money. Most people spend these coins without a second thought, unaware that some of the most powerful, valuable, and story-rich coins ever made are hiding in plain sight. These are not museum pieces locked away behind glass. These are everyday coins that pass through millions of hands, carrying secrets, errors, and historical weight that can turn pocket change into serious value. Each coin on this list represents a turning point, moments when history, rarity, and demand collide. Some were born from wartime shortages, some from minting mistakes, and some from designs that never should have existed the way they do. Collectors hunt them relentlessly. Prices rise quietly, and the average person has no idea what they're holding. This is not about luck. This is about knowledge. Once you know what to look for, you will never see coins the same way again. The next 4 coins are more than collectibles. They are proof that big money doesn't always look expensive. So let's get started. First up, stop for a moment and imagine the weight of history resting in the palm of your hand. The United States Pennsylvania $quarter 1999 with a P. Mint mark is not just spare change. It is a witness to America's industrial strength, revolutionary spirit, and economic ambition. Struck as part of the very first year of the 50-state quarters program, this coin arrived at a turning point when millions of people suddenly began to look at their pocket change with new eyes, wondering if everyday coins could hold hidden stories, forgotten power, and future value. This Pennsylvania quarter represents the Keystone State, the foundation stone of the nation. Pennsylvania is where independence was debated, declared, defended, and industrialized. When this quarter entered circulation in 1999, it symbolized more than geography. It symbolized unity. The design shows the Statue Commonwealth, representing the spirit of the people, standing strong between symbols of agriculture and industry. This balance tells a powerful story. America grows because its people work, invent, and believe. Every line on this coin was meant to remind citizens that progress is built by ordinary hands doing extraordinary things. The P Mint mark tells us this coin was struck at the Philadelphia Mint, the birthplace of American coinage. Philadelphia is not just a mint location. It is the heart of U.S. monetary history. Coins from this mint often carry a special emotional and historical weight because they connect directly to the earliest days of the Republic. In 1999, billions of quarters were produced, yet each one carried the same message. America remembers where it came from. Even in massive numbers, the symbolism remains personal and powerful. Collectors know that first-year issues often hold a special place in numismatics, and the Pennsylvania quarter is no exception. As the very first state released in the 50-state quarter series, it marked the beginning of a cultural phenomenon. Coin collecting exploded. Children, parents, and grandparents all began saving quarters, filling maps, albums, and jars. This single coin helped revive a hobby that had been fading, transforming pocket change into conversation pieces and family traditions. Condition plays a critical role in value, and this is where the story becomes even more exciting. While circulated examples are common, high-grade uncirculated coins, especially those with sharp details and original luster, stand out. Coins that avoided heavy handling, scratches, and where now attract attention from collectors who understand that survival in pristine condition is never guaranteed. Time is the great filter, and every year fewer perfect examples remain. Errors and varieties add another layer of intrigue. Some Pennsylvania quarters were struck with grease-filled dies, off-center impressions, or weak strikes, creating unique pieces that break the rules of perfection. These errors are not mistakes to collectors. They are signatures of the minting process, proof that even machines can leave behind rare anomalies. An error coin transforms an ordinary quarter into a one-of-a-kind artifact, often commanding premiums far beyond face value. Beyond money and metal, this coin represents a psychological shift. Before 1999, many people ignored coins. After Pennsylvania's release, coins became stories. People searched their change, talked about mints and designs, and learned history without opening a textbook. The Pennsylvania quarter taught an entire generation that value is not always obvious at first glance. Sometimes it hides in plain sight, waiting for someone curious enough to look closer. From an investment perspective, the Pennsylvania quarter may not promise instant riches, but it offers long-term significance. Coins tied to major programs, historical firsts, and national identity tend to age well in collector interest. As decades pass, nostalgia grows. Future collectors will remember the excitement of 1999, the maps on kitchen tables, and the thrill of finding a new state. That emotional connection often fuels demand more powerfully than metal content alone. The real power of this coin lies in its symbolism. It stands for unity among states, respect for history, and faith in progress. It reminds us that Pennsylvania was the keystone that held the arch together, just as shared values hold a nation together. When you hold this quarter, you are holding a message cast in metal. Ordinary people build extraordinary nations. Next up, the 2005 Kansas State Quarter does not whisper history. It confronts you with it. At its center stands the American bison, massive, unmoving, and dominant, an animal that once thundered across the Great Plains in numbers so vast they shook the earth itself. This is not a romantic symbol chosen lightly. It is a reminder of a land before fences, before railroads, before borders, when survival meant strength, and freedom meant open horizon. The bison faces right, grounded, heavy, real, its head lowered not in submission but in endurance. This single figure represents the untamed heart of the plains and the brutal honesty of frontier life. Beneath the bison blooms the sunflower, delicate yet resilient, the official state flower. This contrast is intentional. Power above, perseverance below. Together they tell the true story of Kansas, a land shaped by extremes. Crushing winters, scorching summers, endless wind, and soil that demanded respect. The sunflower grows toward the sun no matter the hardship, just as settlers pushed forward despite loss, isolation, and uncertainty. This pairing is visual storytelling at its finest. Strength without beauty is hollow, and beauty without strength cannot survive. The inscription, Kansas 1861, marks the year Kansas entered the Union, but that date hides violence, division, and sacrifice. Kansas was born in conflict. Bleeding Kansas was not a metaphor. It was a battlefield of ideologies, where the future of a nation was argued with blood. Long before the Civil War officially began, Kansas was already burning. This coin quietly acknowledges that truth. It honors a state forged not in peace, but in conviction. The bison itself carries deeper meaning. By the late 1800s, this animal was nearly exterminated, driven to the edge of extinction by westward expansion and industrial hunger. What you see on this coin is not just a symbol of abundance, it is a warning. It represents what is lost when power is abused and progress ignores consequence. Yet its presence here also speaks of survival. The bison endured. Against all odds, it returned. And so did the land. The year 2005 places this coin within the golden era of the state quarters program, a moment when everyday change became a national classroom. Millions held this quarter without realizing they were holding a lesson in environmental history, frontier conflict, and cultural identity. This coin was never meant to be flashy. It was meant to be honest, earthy, heavy, real. Collectors often underestimate this quarter because of its circulation numbers. But power is not measured by scarcity alone. This coin commands attention because of what it represents. High-grade uncirculated examples reveal astonishing detail. The texture of the bison's fur, the layered petals of the sunflower, the sharp clarity of the inscriptions. Proof versions amplify this contrast, turning symbolism into art. Era coins, off-center strikes, die cracks, or planchet flaws add another layer, transforming history into anomaly, and anomaly into value. Run your finger along the rim, and you feel continuity. This coin passed through countless hands, farmers, workers, students, travelers, each unaware that they were briefly connected to a story centuries old. Coins like this are time travelers. They carry memory forward, silently, endlessly. The Kansas quarter rejects glamour and embraces truth. It does not celebrate conquest. It acknowledges consequence. It does not glorify ease, it honors endurance. It stands as a metallic reminder that America was not built gently. It was built through struggle, resilience, and relentless movement westward. This coin belongs to the soil, the wind, and the open sky. It belongs to those who understand that freedom is not abstract. It is physical, earned, defended, and sometimes lost. The bison does not smile. The sunflower does not beg. Together, they stand. Next up, the Washington State Quarter Dollar 2003 with the D mint mark is more than a coin. It is a symbol of resilience, discovery, and forward momentum. Released as part of the historic 50 state quarters program, this coin represents a state that has always stood at the edge of possibility, facing the future before the rest of the nation even knew what was coming. Washington State is known as the Evergreen State, a land shaped by glaciers, rain, forests, and fire. The design on the quarter reflects this identity through the image of George Washington himself, the only U.S. state named after a president. This decision was powerful and deliberate. While other states chose landmarks, animals, or mottos, Washington chose leadership. It sent a clear message. This state stands for vision, courage, and the responsibility that comes with shaping a nation's destiny. The 2003 release came during a mature phase of the state quarters program, when public excitement was still strong, but collectors were becoming more selective. By this time, people understood that not all quarters were equal. Mint marks mattered. Condition mattered. History mattered. The D mint mark signifies the Denver Mint, a facility known for producing coins that circulated heavily across the western United States. These coins traveled far, passed through countless hands, and became part of everyday American life. Yet within that massive circulation lies the hidden challenge. Finding a Washington State quarter from 2003 in high-grade condition is far more difficult than many realize. Most examples show wear, contact marks, or dull surfaces. Coins that survived with strong luster, sharp strikes, and clean fields now stand out as survivors of time. These are the pieces that collectors quietly seek, knowing that rarity is often created not at the mint, but through decades of survival. The obverse of the coin features George Washington, steady and composed, a reminder that leadership is not loud. It is firm, patient, and enduring. On the reverse, the simplicity of the design speaks volumes. The clean lines and uncluttered layout reflect Washington State's balance between nature and innovation. This is a state where towering forests exist alongside cutting-edge technology, where tradition and progress move side by side without apology. Era coins from the 2003 Washington Quarter Series add an entirely different layer of power. Off-center strikes, die cracks, weak lettering, or grease-filled dies transform ordinary coins into extraordinary artifacts. These minting errors are snapshots of imperfection frozen in metal. Collectors understand that errors are not flaws to be discarded. They are stories of the minting process itself, moments when machinery and pressure briefly lost alignment, creating something that will never exist again. The Washington State Quarter also represents a deeper cultural shift. By 2003, the State Quarters program had already educated millions of people. Children learned geography through coins. Families talked about states they had never visited. The Washington Quarter became a quiet teacher, spreading knowledge through pocket change rather than classrooms. It proved that education doesn't always come from books. Sometimes it comes from curiosity sparked by something small and familiar. From an investment standpoint, this coin is about patience and perspective. It is not a get-rich-quick piece. Its power lies in long-term historical relevance. Coins tied to major national programs, especially those connected to leadership and identity, tend to gain respect over time. As years pass, collectors begin to look backward with nostalgia, searching for clean examples that remind them of an era when America celebrated unity through diversity. The D mint mark adds a regional layer of interest. Denver minted coins often show different strike characteristics compared to their Philadelphia counterparts. Subtle differences in detail, texture, and relief can make one coin more desirable than another to a trained eye. These small distinctions are where serious collectors separate knowledge from guesswork. Ultimately, the Washington State Quarter Dollar 2003 D is a reminder that power does not need to shout. It can exist quietly, confidently, waiting to be recognized. This coin stands for leadership without arrogance, progress without forgetting nature, and strength without excess. It represents a state that looks westward, toward the horizon, always ready for what comes next. Next up, this coin speaks in a quieter voice than many others, but its message is deeper, steadier, and more enduring. The Iowa State Quarter, issued in 2004, does not rely on symbols of war, wildlife, or conquest. Instead, it honors something far more powerful and far more lasting: knowledge. At the center of this design stands a simple one-room schoolhouse, modest in size, yet monumental in meaning. This is not just a building. It is the birthplace of opportunity, the foundation of progress, and the silent engine behind generations of growth. The schoolhouse represents the belief that education is not a privilege for the few, but a responsibility shared by all. Above the scene, the inscription, Iowa 1846, marks the year Iowa entered the Union. Iowa joined as a free state, carrying forward ideals of equality, learning, and civic responsibility at a time when the nation itself was deeply divided. The words foundation and education are not decorative, they are a declaration. They define the identity of the state not by geography or resources, but by values. Iowa chose to define itself by minds, not muscle. Look closely at the design, and the storytelling becomes richer. The schoolhouse sits on open land, symbolizing accessibility. Education was not confined behind city walls or reserved for elites. It was planted in rural soil, reaching farming families, frontier children, and immigrant communities alike. The bell tower atop the building stands as a call, not to battle, but to learning. Its ring once gathered children from miles away, signaling the start of something transformative. Literacy, reason, hope. To the right of the schoolhouse, a teacher stands beside students beneath a young tree. This is one of the most emotionally powerful scenes in the entire State Quarters program. The teacher is not elevated above the children, but stands with them, guiding rather than commanding. The tree beside them is deliberate symbolism. Knowledge grows. Slowly, patiently, with care. Its roots deepen over time, unseen but essential, just like the impact of education on a society. You do not see its full power immediately, but generations later, its shade covers everything. The ground beneath the scene stretches outward, reflecting Iowa's agricultural heritage. This reminds us that education and labor are not opposites. They are partners. The hands that work the land also shape the future when guided by learning. Iowa understood early that strong communities are built when practical skill and intellectual growth move together. The year 2004 marks this coin's place within the height of the State Quarters program, a time when everyday currency became a storytelling medium. While other states chose bold imagery, Iowa chose conviction. This coin does not demand attention, it earns respect. It tells you that progress does not always roar. Sometimes it reads quietly by lamplight, one lesson at a time. From a collector's perspective, this quarter is often overlooked, yet that reflects the very theme it carries. Education itself is often undervalued until its absence is felt. High-grade, uncirculated examples reveal fine details. The clean lines of the schoolhouse boards, the delicate posture of the figures, the texture of the land. Proof versions elevate the design, giving it clarity and contrast that mirrors the clarity education brings to society. Error coins, double dies, off-center strikes, add another layer of interest, transforming an already meaningful piece into a unique artifact. This coin has passed through countless hands, many unaware of its message. It may have paid for food, fuel, or forgotten purchases. Yet each exchange carried forward an idea older than the coin itself, that learning is the true currency of civilization. Nations rise not on strength alone, but on understanding. The Iowa Quarter stands apart because it celebrates builders of the future rather than heroes of the past. It honors teachers who never appear in history books, students whose names were never recorded, and communities that believed investing in minds was the greatest legacy they could leave behind. This coin is a reminder that revolutions do not always begin with weapons. Some begin with books. Some begin in quiet rooms. Some begin with a single teacher and a handful of children under a growing tree. And that is why this coin endures. Not because it is rare, not because it is dramatic, but because it tells the truth. The strongest foundation any state, any nation, or any individual can ever build is education.